Before heading to the video, if you haven't subscribed the channel, do subscribe it and don't forget to click the bell icon for the latest update notification. If you like the video, do like, comment and share. Stay tuned with learnbay.co. Happy learning!
Play around with that. So let's move to the next topic, which is basically your naive Bayes. Okay. So this is where all the things that we had struggled with, that confusion, probability, conditional probability, random variable, all of that is going to connect here. Okay. So this is one of the fastest, actually, in fact, this is the fastest machine learning algorithm. It has its own problems, uh, but it is the fastest. Like if you want extremely fast machine learning algorithm, then your first guess should be that money I'm going to go with naive Bayes. Then you can go with logistic regression. It is like extremely fast. So we'll try to understand all of this. Why is it fast? What is the connection with the probability? Why did we learn so much probability because of this? And etc. etc. Okay. So before that, first we need to clear some of the things that we learned like I think 1 month back, or maybe more than that. So what is a random variable? So random variable is, let's say, for example, temperature of a day, let's say, or amount of rainfall, right? So it is random variable because it's not fixed, right? So let's say my body weight every day, some little bit weight will be changing all the time, or maybe my body temperature, right? So every day it won't be 96 exactly, some 96.1, 93, 95.8, something like that. Now, what is probability? Probability is again associated with that random variable. So let's say what are the favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcomes. So that is your probability. Now, what is conditional probability? Conditional probability is basically what is the probability of A given that B has already occurred, right? So conditional probability is basically you're looking at two events. One of the event has already occurred and the other event you're basically looking what is the probability for that to occur given that the previously that B has already occurred. And then we saw Bayes theorem. So Bayes theorem was extension of your conditional probability. So let's say if you have A, B, C, D, then what is the probability of A given that B, C, D has already occurred, right? You have that formula and all of that, right? So these are the things that we have learned extensively for, spent a lot of times. We saw a lot of examples, a lot of debates, questions, MCQ and all that. Okay, so these are the things that we have done so far. Now let's see what is the connection with this particular naive Bayes. It's actually quite simple, but it's a very powerful algorithm. So it's a good one to basically remember and learn. Okay, so let's do a small exercise. So imagine two people, Alice and Bob, whose word usage pattern you know. To keep example simple, let's assume that Alice uses combination of three words, love, great, wonderful, more often. And Bob uses words dog, ball, wonderful, often. Let's assume you received an anonymous email whose sender could be either Bob or Alice. So let's say the content of the email is I love beach sand. Additionally, the sunset at the beach offers wonderful view. So can you guys guess with this information who is Alice? Sorry, this email came from Alice or Bob?
Alice.
Alice.
Right. So that is what your naive Bayes does. Right. So in short form, it has probabilities already calculated before, and it is just basically predicting how much is it actually overlapping with the previous probabilities. We will see an example, you will understand better, but the fast that you guys told, this is from Alice, that's how fast your naive Bayes is, because you already have pre-computed probabilities that you can use for your next basically training, the next question or next training data that you're going to get. Okay, so let's try to break it down and understand better. So that you guys, anyone has any question? Why everyone said Alice? Any questions here? Any doubts? Okay, so let's go to the next part. So next scenario, right? So instead of directly saying English, I'm including probabilities here. Let's add a combination and probability in the data we have. Suppose Alice and Bob uses following words with the probabilities as shown below. Now can you guess who is the sender of the mail, which is wonderful love? And if you see below, Alice has a probability of using the word love 0.1 and wonderful 0.1 and great as 0.8. Whereas Bob has the probability of using the word wonderful as 0.5 love has 0.3, and I think deal has 0.3. So 6. I think the probability went more than 1, but it's okay. So now in this case, which one will you select?
Bob.
Right, so Bob has more higher probability for using the word wonderful as 0.5, and that is the reason you can say that it is most probably that this mail came from Bob. Okay, so let's try to see. So naive Bayes is extremely fast relative to other classification algorithms. It works on Bayes' theorem of probability to predict the class of the unknown dataset. It is a classification technique based on Bayes' theorem with the assumption of independence amongst predictors, which means, let's say if you have column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, what is the assumption that Bayes' theorem takes? It takes the assumption that all of them are independent of each other. But in real life, that is not the case. Some feature will affect the other feature. So that is the reason this naive Bayes is not foolproof, but it is the fastest. Okay, so we'll see that. Now, in simple terms, a naive Bayes classifier assumes the presence of a particular feature in a class is unrelated to presence of any other feature. Okay. Now, for example, a fruit may be considered to be apple if it is red, round, and about 3 inches in diameter. So that is fair. So let's say if someone explained that I have a fruit which looks like red in color, can you guess it's a little bit round and the diameter is 3. Most of us will guess it is apple. Even if these features depend on each other or upon the existence of other features, all of these properties independently contribute to the probability that this fruit is apple. So that is why it is called naive. So sometimes people ask this question in interview, why is naive Bayes called naive? What is so naive about it? So naive means like innocent, like a child who doesn't know. He will think that his parents are mom and dad, and there are no people outside in the world. But once he grows up, okay, there are a lot of people around the world, and then he'll keep on learning a lot of things. Like, okay, for the food I will only eat, let's say, whatever, like baby food or something. But slowly he'll learn all of these things, right? So that is the word naive means. Naive means innocent. Not innocent, but babies are naive, like they don't know anything actually, right? So that is the way it is called naive. So why is it naive in naive Bayes? It means that even if these features depend on each other, the existence of other features, all of these properties independently contribute to the probability that this fruit is an apple, and that is why it is called naive. So naive because naive Bayes assumes that these features are independent, but in real life they are dependent on each other. So that is why it is called naive Bayes theorem. Okay. So this is the formula of Bayes theorem. Okay, naive Bayes theorem, naive Bayes model is easy to build and particularly useful for very large data sets. Okay, now if you guys compare this with SVM will, if the data set itself is large, let's say if you have 50 columns, we are already talking a starting dimension of 50. Now for SVM to find that plane which is going to go in between and try to cut it like plus and minus, it needs to keep on projecting from 50, 51, 52, 53, 54. Right? As you can see that this projection of that in higher dimension will take a lot of time. Right? Now that is the reason if you want to build a very quick model and want to see how it works for large data sets, you want a very fast model, then naive Bayes is a good option. So along with simplicity, naive Bayes is known to capture even highly sophisticated classification methods. Okay, so this is the breakdown of your Bayes theorem, right? So if someone asks you what is the posterior probability that this particular input feature is of category C, given that this is the input feature X is equal to this whole thing, right? Probability X given C times probability of C divided by probability of X. Okay, now this C given X can be a multiplication of individual this. So let me explain what is happening here. But yeah, this is just for your understanding. Generally, they don't go here. So you guys remember P of A divided by B, right? I hope you guys remember this. So which means that what is the probability of occurrence of A given that B has already occurred? That is the understanding of conditional probability. This is the extension of this. So this is your Bayes theorem. Okay. So this is simple probability. This is simple probability. So this is where you have two events. right? So this is P of x1. So let's say if your input vector is like this, input vector meaning which is your feature. So let's say this is column 1, let's say column 2, column 3, column 4, like that. Let's say you have 5 column, whatever, like age is 26, then this is male 1, and then let's say height is, let's say 6 feet, so 6.0, something like that. So what this x1 and x2 and x3 is basically saying is, this is the input. So P of C by X, given that, what they are asking is, so what is the probability that this guy is doing fraud, right? So what we are looking for is, using Bayes' theorem, what is the probability that this guy is doing fraud, given that this is my input feature, which is this small x, which is in fact this x1, x2, x3, right? So that is what we are asking. Now, what for finding that value, what we also need is, what is the probability of C? Okay, what is the probability of C? So we'll see an example, you guys will understand actually. But this is difficult to explain and understand this.
Only one thing, man. So the Bayes theorem itself says probability of one event given that other event has occurred. It means it is doing a dependency check. There is a dependency between event B and event A, right? That's what it's doing. Then how come naive Bayes, right? It treats since it's based on a algorithm of Bayes, based on this Bayes theorem. How come it treats each feature as independent? It is treating that one event occurred, then it's checking based on that, right?
No. If your features are dependent, then this will not be simple multiplication, right? You guys remember that, right? So let's say if it is A, if it is B and C, right? So what are the probabilities? So if you see that both of them have some relationship, then the calculation of probabilities will be a little bit trickier. If you see that, okay, the occurrence of A, and so what is the probability that you will get head? You roll one, you flip a coin, and you basically roll a dice together. What is the probability that the outcome is basically H1, which is basically head and 1. So the probability of getting head is 1/2. And you again multiply it directly, because both of them have no they are independent actually. The dice and this has no relationship. Probability of getting 1 is 1/6. So together for the probability of getting H1 is basically 1/12. That is clear, right? Now what we are doing is, this is naive because the probability of this, let's say x1, your column 1, and x2, even though x1 and x2 might be related somehow, if you see the correlation map, what this is called naive is because it considers all of them as independent. No, that is how the model is actually. If you're asking why is it like that, I'm not clear on the question actually.
No, I'm saying Bayes theorem itself depends on the condition of occurrence of other event. Then I'm thinking it considers the correlation between.
No, you're thinking wrong. No, so what I'm saying is, those are two events actually. What you're saying is dependency. Now, if you have to define what is the dependency there, what do you mean by dependency?
Only if that occurred, this will occur.
No. So we don't have that situation, right? For your input feature, you'll always have x1, x2, and x3 and x4. Now, yeah, it might be a little bit tricky to wrap our head with this as events. But if you go back to this particular example, or let me give you an example. If it's cleared out, it's good, or else I'll explain again. Okay, there's one example, simple example. I'll explain, you guys will understand better. Okay, I'll come to your question there actually. Is that fine?
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is all notation actually that is difficult to understand and explain. So Bayes' theorem provides a way of calculating posterior probability P of C by X from P of C, P of X, and P of X given C. Okay, so all of these are posterior likelihood, all of this is this thing. So let's see one example. Now then you will understand what is happening. Now what is the feature that is given here? There is only one input feature, which is basically weather. And what is the output feature, which is target variable, which is basically play. Okay, now what are the different options in play? Your target variable, yes or no. Either the players are playing the cricket or not. Okay. Now let's say what is the options in weather. There are 3 categories, I think 4. One is sunny, one is overcast, one is rainy, and one is, I think 4 only, right? 1, 2, 3. 3 only, I think. Yeah, sunny. 1, 2, 3. Sunny, overcast, and rainy. Right. So these are the different types of. These are the different types you will see in the input. This one. This is your feature vector, and this is your output target variable, which is basically play. So I hope the data set is clear. This is a very simple data set, just to understand. What Bayes theorem does is, first it will basically calculate this frequency table. Okay. Now what is this frequency table? This is basically how many times did the players play if it was raining, right? So if it was rainy, they actually played 2 times, and if it was rainy, they didn't play 3 times. Okay. Now how many times did they play if it was sunny? So if it was sunny, it means it's a good weather condition. Most of the times they will play, but for some reasons they didn't play also. If it was overcast, all the time they played. This is basically 0. Okay. Now what is the grand total? Yes and no. Basically 5 times they didn't play total overall, and 9 times they played. So which is basically your 14 rows here. Now what is this likelihood table? So likelihood table is basically you're calculating the probabilities from these frequencies, right? So from these frequencies, you're converting them into the probabilities. Now how will you convert them? Here basically, what are the total numbers? So the total number of rows are basically 14. Okay. So all you have to do is basically divide them by 14. So let's say here you have 4 divided by 14. Here you have total 5 divided by 14. Here you have total 5 again divided by 14. Here you have total 5. So divided by 14, 5 by 14. Here you have 9 divided by 14. Now you got your likelihood probabilities. Okay, so these are your or basically what was already there, right? Next, let's see what happens when a new data point comes here, right? So let's understand by using an example. Below I have a training data set of weather and corresponding target variable play, suggesting possibilities of playing. Now we need to classify whether players will play or not based on the weather condition. Okay, that is the machine learning problem that you are attacking. Okay, so for that you're using naive Bayes. First, convert the data into frequency table. Second, create the likelihood by finding the probabilities. Now use a naive Bayes equation to calculate the posterior probability of each class. The class with the highest posterior probability is the outcome of the prediction. Now let's say this is your testing data. What is your testing data? The testing data is asking this question: will players play if weather is sunny? Okay, is this statement correct? Now let's go and calculate that posterior probabilities. Given that, so what is the probability? This is what you want to figure out. Probability that the players will play, yes, given that it is sunny, is equal to probability of sunny. How many times they played? Probability yes means how many times they played and it was already sunny, multiplied by probability how many times they played, divided by what is the probability that the weather is sunny. If you calculate all of these probabilities, you will get 0.6, which is a higher probability. So your answer will be yes. Okay, so this is what internally happens on your Bayes theorem. Okay, naive Bayes uses a simple method.
Mani, can you please go to the same equation? It is in the equation, if you okay, it is probability of S divided by when the probability of sunny is equal to the same thing which we are calculating, right? Probability of S when it is sunny. In the formula, not this one, the above one where you are calculating the probability of sunny.
This one?
Yeah.
There are two formulas.
So here, this one only.
Yeah.
In the third line, probability of S when the weather it is sunny only we are calculating. In that one, we are giving the equation as probability of sunny when the when it is S and the probability of S when it is sunny. So both are same, right? Probability of S when it is sunny and what we want to calculate, both are same, right?
No, how is it same? Yeah, that's the reason you need to be good at, you need to revise probability.
It's the same Bayes theorem, right?
It is
Yeah.
sunny S multiplied by probability of S divided by probability of sunny.
No, first let's answer.
You can replace them by AB now.
Okay, now I got it.
They're not same, no, they are different actually. Completely different. Never same actually. Not never, but not correct. So not same. This means that.
Okay, now I got it.
Yeah. Okay, so that is the reason you need to first clearly understand conditional probability. Extension of that is Bayes theorem. This is all we have discussed like 1 month back. Now we are connecting back to your machine learning problem here. Okay, both are not same. Okay, so yeah, so where were we? What was I explaining? Yeah, so this algorithm is mostly used in text classification and with problems having multiple classes. Now let's see what are the pros. So does this clear your question, Surendra? You had a question here. No, I know you can say that money, there are other features, so what happens there? But for a simple idea, like a simple input feature and target variable, this procedure of creating frequency table, this procedure of creating likelihoods, and going back and applying this in this particular problem.
Yeah. But it's just one feature. Now we are not even bothered about because X is only one here, right?
Yeah, but for simplicity, X is 1. If I go with again 2, 3, the complexity is
yeah, but I was just only telling you X, okay, probability of A given B. Given B is that is certain that it's occurred, right? So or we know the probability of that occurring. So that itself takes care of the dependency. Is that like is that X1, X2 given X1 or given X2, or it is only given Y? I mean, I'm just confused a bit because naive Bayes does not or assumes that they are independent, right? So that's why how does it assume independent is what I was still thinking. But let's see.
No, it is the assumption of the model. That is the problem of naive Bayes. If it doesn't work, naive Bayes, most of the times if it doesn't work, that is only because if that particular model has a very lot of dependence on the features. Now, in most of the cases, there is some dependence. This is how your probabilities will look like, right? So, like this X1.
Yeah, this is conditional probability, yes.
Yeah, so X2, comma this, comma CK. Now, even I myself need some time to understand what is going here. So that's the reason I generally don't go here.
Okay.
But yeah, it's simple. So even in interview, they will not expect you to write all of this. It doesn't make sense. Most of the times, they don't even ask all of this. But generally, what they ask is, can you explain me what is naive Bayes? And once you explain this, they'll ask you a simple example. Can you give me a simple example? What they're mainly focused on is they will give you a data set, and that is where all of the things that you learned actually comes in the form of code. I can actually talk a lot, I have a lot of understanding, but if I'm not able to translate that in the part of code, because ultimately on the job you have to write code, right? So yeah, that is what they will look for. Even if you make little bit mistakes here, it's fine. Okay, so it is easy and fast to predict class of test data set. It also performs well in multi-class prediction. When assumption of independence holds, a naive Bayes classifier performs better compared to other models like logistic regression, and you need less training data. So this is the pros, right? So these are the advantages. Now, as you see, every algorithm I've given pros and cons. It is your job to figure out which algorithm actually fits. Let's say if they ask you that, okay, we want extremely fast algorithm, you have very few options, which is basically naive Bayes and logistic regression. Okay, if they ask you, no, you take your time, let the model also run for like 1-2 minutes, that's fine, but we want very, very high accuracy, then go with Keras and neural networks. Okay, now when will you go with SVM? So SVM is when you have little bit less data, not like deep learning where you have 60,000 images and all that. You have fairly like 15,000 or 10,000 images, and your neural network needs more data, right? Now that's when you will start, okay, neural networks is requiring more data and currently I do not have so much data. Then you fall back to your machine learning algorithm, which is powerful as neural network, which is support vector machine. Okay, when would you go with decision tree? Decision tree is when you're working with clients where interpretability is very important. For example, when you want to explain to the client, or let's say to the customer, that what really happened, this is the flow and this is how my model looks like, then you generally go with decision for neural network, decision tree. Okay, decision tree. Now when will you go with random forest? You have no idea about the industry, you have no idea what are those columns, you're not able to understand any of this. Just directly go and directly apply random forest, because random forest will fairly do a good job compared to all the other algorithms. Once you get that base model going, then you can compare with other algorithms and see if they are actually better than random forest, right? So this is the framework that you can follow whenever you're applying approaching any problem. Okay, now this is the naive Bayes is one algorithm that we had used for a problem in ad, because ad networks are very, very time sensitive. If you do not send the ad in, let's say 100 or 200 milliseconds, the other competition will get the money. So I don't have so much time for me to build a neural network and all of that. So we went with the first model, we went with basically naive Bayes, but a little bit different and complex naive Bayes. Okay, not this vanilla form, which is very simple. Now, what are the other pros? So it performs well in case of categorical input variables compared to numerical variables. For numerical variables, normal distribution is assumed, basically the bell curve of features. Now, what are the cons? If the categorical variable has a category which was not observed in the training data, okay, this is one of the biggest problem. Now, can you guys see this? So what is this problem? Now, if the person is going to ask this question, what is the probability of yes given it is humid? Now what will algorithm do? It will say directly 0, because there is no option of humid here. Humid came for the first time in the test data. Now where is humid present? Humid is present here. And they're asking question mark. Before we ask the question, if it is sunny, we said naive Bayes told the answer is yes. But if we get something which is humid and which was never seen before, then you are in a big problem. Now the answer will always be 0, no matter how much it is, it doesn't matter. Now that is one big problem here. Okay, now let's see what really happens there. So if you see here, this is often known as zero frequency, if a categorical variable has a category in the test data set which was not observed in the training data set, the model will assign a 0 probability and will be unable to make a prediction. This is often known as zero frequency. To solve this problem, there is something called Laplace estimation. That is a little bit out of scope of this, but there are remedies for these problems. Okay, but that is
just a small doubt. As you said over here, like in the testing data, if those kind of this one happens, like it won't be present in the training data. Doesn't this occur in other algorithms also? Like it won't be able to predict the whatever the answer, right? Because in the training data, it wouldn't have seen that data itself. Isn't it a con for all the data, for all the algorithms?
Isn't it a con? That's a good question, but you have to go back to this, that generally that hit is very rare. What I'm saying is here you only have x1. Now this is a big problem, but in real life you have a columns of at least 10 to 15. So x1 to x17, right? Now what we are talking about is like extremely difficult, where you have this particular category where you have one, let's say male instead of male, instead of positive negative, you got a rating as neutral for the first time. So all of this is in test. And again you got something which is, so what I'm trying to say is this row number, let's say 680, which is present in your test, okay, has no intersection with any of this in train. So that is very rare. You agree with that? Some even if this is not seen here, some of these will have some intersection, like some of them. Now what happens here is, you can argue that more or less here, but this is a very big problem here, because here we are just going, that is the naiveness actually. The naiveness, the innocence, or not knowing what to do is that part, where in naive Bayes, if something new comes, no matter how many times it comes, this is basically zero. But
that I understood, but isn't it gone for other algorithms also? That's what I want to ask. Like, is it possible for other algorithms to predict these kind of test data sets? Like, it wouldn't have seen it in training set. So is it possible for for logistic regression or for decision tree, random forest? Is it possible for those algorithms to predict a feature which it hasn't been seen in the training data?
Completely, yeah, they will make prediction. It might be wrong, but they will make some prediction. Here they will only make zero. As you can see, it is the answer will always be no, but there you will see both of them probabilities. For example, if it is survived or non-survived, you will see something like 0.6 and 0.3, something like that. Here you will always see the probability of yes if it is humid. Actually here there is a bigger problem. So probability of yes is also 0, and probability of no, given that it is humid, is also no, 0. Right? This is a little bit odd situation, or a weird situation you're running into, because this humid was not seen in your test feature. Both of those you will get wrong answer in all the algorithms. It is a more you can say this is more problematic here than other algorithms. Other algorithms, it is problematic. I'm not saying it is not a problem, but here it is completely a little bit confusing. Both of those probabilities you will get as 0. So you will not understand which one will you choose. You will either end up choosing a random of those when you do np.argmax, which will basically say it could be any of them. So I'll just directly go with one of them, right? So it doesn't make sense. Now what they are technically trying to explain is, so if you see this 0 here, right? So if you see this 0, what is the probability that if it is overcast, this value is not changing, is what they are trying to say. These probabilities are more or less very fixed, and this 0 has a very big problem. Now the big problem here is anything divided or multiplied by, if you multiply anything by 0, it is always 0. No matter how many times this particular is 0 here, even it is 4, 5, 6, it doesn't matter, right? So this 0 will always be 0, right? So what they are trying to explain here in this Laplace transformation is, now this is going to give you a 0 probability, and because of this, your multiplications inside, let's say probability of x pipe C1, let's say again you multiply with something else, everything will end up 0. Okay, had this been 0.001 instead of 0, let's say 0.001, you will have some value here in this multiplication. That is the main problem here. I hope I have given you some idea. What I'm trying to explain is, if you have a situation where you end up with this such a situation where they didn't play ever, so whenever there was overcast, they always played, right? So let's say sometimes for so many reasons, even if it is overcast in your test data, the answer might be no, but your naive Bayes will always say, if it is overcast, it will always say in your test that it is yes. Right? That is what they are trying to say. Now the reason it will always say yes is the probability. There was never ever a situation in your training that there was a no when it was overcast. right? So, but in real life, their matches can get cancelled. There are so many problems, right? So that is the problem. Now, the reason you will never get this as no, because this is the probability of no, and whenever you multiply this with any number of multiplications or probability in your Bayes theorem, ultimately you will end up with 0, because you multiply 0 with anything, you end up with 0. That is the problem with that zero frequency. What you told is makes sense, because that is a con for all the data sets, all the algorithms. The bigger problem here is, since you have this as 0 here, and you multiply this with your conditional probabilities, no matter, even if you get overcast, there is not even a chance that this probability will be highlighted. Now, the other way it works in your logistic or other algorithms is you get individual probabilities. Now, let's say if the input feature is your test feature is overcast, your logistic regression will say what is the probability of yes and probability of no. So the way it will say is probability of yes is 0.7 and the probability of no is 0.3. Since 0.7 is more, the final answer will be yes. That is how other algorithms are going to work. Here in this case of naive Bayes, this will be always 1.0 and 0. Now this 0 is the problem of zero frequency. Did I make it a little bit more clear? Yeah, I couldn't hear you. You said yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. You don't seem convinced.
Because it was like a general con for all the algorithms, right? That's why I just got it.
That I agree. Yeah, it is a general con. The major con here is not the sweet con, but the CON is this one, zero frequency that I've explained here. That you agree with that, right?
Yeah, this I agree. Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying is, no matter how many times overcast comes in your test, it will always predict as yes, because it has never seen no in the training data set. But that is not how the real life is. There are some noises and there is some variation there. So that is where your naive Bayes makes that naive mistake that if it is overcast, I will always predict it as yes. That is the naiveness and the con. Okay. On the other side, naive Bayes is also known as a bad estimator. So the probability outputs from predict_proba are not to be taken too seriously. So that is, this predict_proba is the one, that 0 and 1 that I've explained, right? So that is what your predict_proba will give. Another limitation of naive Bayes is the assumption of independent predictors. In real life, it is almost impossible that we get a set of predictors which are completely independent. Okay. Now, there's some more this thing. Naive Bayes is an eager learning classifier, and it is sure fast. Thus, it could be used for making predictions in real time. So this is the ad example that I've given you. For example, where you want the predictions to be extremely fast, naive Bayes is one of the good algorithms. Generally, even with your text classification, where there are multiple categories, like if it is spam or not spam, or let's say positive, negative, or neutral, there also you will use naive Bayes. If you go back to this particular question that we asked about Bob and Alice, we are actually using naive Bayes in the back of our head actually. So that is the reason that is frequently used with NLP applications like text classification. Text classification, spam filtering, and sentiment analysis. Naive Bayes classifiers mostly used in text classification due to the better result in multi-class problems and independence rules have higher success rate as compared to other algorithms. As a result, it is widely used in spam filtering, identifying an email is spam or not, and sentiment analysis. If someone writes this movie is so bad, I hate it. So, or let's say today is a good day, I'm having a good day. So positive or negative, right? So all of these text-based classifications or sentiment analysis, this is the good use case for naive Bayes. Also, one of the other use cases basically spam filtering. Now coming back to your recommendation system, naive Bayes classifier and collaborative filtering together builds a recommendation system that uses machine learning and data mining techniques to filter unseen information and predict whether a user is would like a given resource or not. So this recommendation system will learn more in the unsupervised machine learning. Okay, so these are the applications actually. So if you are applying, or if you are running into one of these applications directly, you can jump and start using naive Bayes. Okay, so that's what they are trying to explain here. Okay, so tips to improve naive Bayes. So here are some tips for improving the power of naive Bayes model. If continuous features do not have normal distribution, we should use transformation or different methods to convert it to normal. So basically you can do x minus mu by sigma, which is standardization. And if the test data set has zero frequency issue, apply smoothing techniques. So basically you can apply Laplace correction. Okay. Now, if you also have some of the correlated features, as naive Bayes is not so good if you have correlated features, then it's a good idea if you can remove one among those correlated features before applying naive Bayes. Okay, so this is like the steps that you can apply or remember whenever you're applying naive Bayes algorithm. Okay, so there are some references. I don't know how many are open in these slides, but if you go to these also, you will get a lot of useful information. If you have anything that I'm missing, or if you have any questions that you have. Okay, so any other questions on naive Bayes? Any questions, any doubts?